Well, hi there, BookTube. It's Roz, a scallywandling about the books. It's the 4th of September, and so I really need to crack on and do my August Delights and Discoveries video before it becomes outrageously not August. And that's when I do sort of like a wrap-up of what I've read in the month. And I talk perhaps a bit more about things that I haven't done a separate video on, or haven't featured in some other way in the course of the month. And the other thing that I always try and do is pull out the highlights and lowlights of my month, I guess. Delights, discoveries, and any disappointments. Now, September is August, not September, I know it's September now, that was August. August is Women in Translation Month, and of the 12 things that I read in August, 6 of them were kind of connected in some way with Women in Translation Month. They were they were by women and they were in translation. One of those was the play that I read, which was Saying Yes by Griselda Gambaro from Argentina, and I will say no more about that because I did a video with Tilly. It was our monthly discussing drama video. Now, Tilly and I really enjoy reading a play each month, and we really enjoy then talking about it together and doing a Zoom and making a video. We know it's kind of like rather a niche viewing interest for BookTube, like obscure, plays of any kind really. But I know there are other people out there that do enjoy drama and reading drama, and not just Shakespeare during Shakespeare. If there's a play that you really like, or that you really want to read, that you think Tilly and I and you could read and then do a three-way Zoom discussion, do say, because we'd be up for that. We're maybe going to do that with Sean sometime, with some I think gay Indian drama that he's got in mind. So nothing more about that. All the things that I read for Women in Translation Month, I made a video just about them because it was so rich and so satisfying and had so many kind of like things in it that I wanted to recommend or enthuse about. So I'm not going to go into any detail about any of them. I'm going to give an honourable mention to Nervous System that I read with Sina, Beating Around the Books, which was one of those books that was really great in terms of language and ideas, even though I didn't kind of love it as a book. But really rewarding, I think. I would also say that probably and one of my most delightful reads, if we're talking delights, of the month was Embroideries by Marjane Satrapi, and that was a graphic novel, and it was just such fun, and so, but also very kind of like quite touching. So that was a delight. But my top book of the month, I would say, was one of the Women in Translation reads, and that was Chernobyl Prayer, which is oral history by the Belarusian author Svetlana Alexievich, and I can't recommend that highly enough. But if you want to know more about any of that and the other things I read, go and watch my Women in Translation month video that I did like a week ago. Now, Chernobyl Prayer was my top book of the month, but possibly my most, enjoyable bookish experience of the month was the group read of Sanctuary by William Faulkner for Faulkner in August, just because we had such a lively discussion in the Voxer group for that. And what I would say, I suppose, is that I know some people say, oh, I quite like doing buddy reads, but I wouldn't want to do a big group read with lots of people because I'm not sure I'd enjoy that. And I would say that when they work, they can be just tremendous. And so do consider it if you hear about one. Was certainly Sanctuary was not a brilliant book, but it was a brilliant book to talk about with a brilliant set of readers. So, my most memorable book of the month, again, not necessarily the best, but the most, yeah, definitely the most memorable, was I the Supreme by the Brazilian author. Oh, now let me get his name right, because I should have the book in my hand. Bastos, and that was written in 1974, but it's about the real dictator of Paraguay from the early 19th century. Now, I buddy read that one with Hester Dunlop, commenter, and I'm so glad I did, because that was a book that I kind of needed. I needed a mate to sustain me through reading that. Hester's description of that book was that she, at any one point, she never knew whether to like love it or throw it across the room. It was often quite impenetrable, but at the same time funny and wonderful. It's kind of like experimental historical fiction. Anyway, I'm going to do a Scallydandle Paraguay video about that book, so I'll stop there for that one. But I'm hoping someone else will have read it other than me and Hester, and throw in some comments when I do that Scallydandling video. Now, my poetry this month, I did talk about already, because that was Tense of the Tribe by Saudi Arabian poet Ibrahim al-Awaji, and I did a Poetry Thursday little video about that. And Poetry Thursday is like a really lovely booktube institution, I think, and I will keep trying to every now and then do a Poetry Thursday video with a poem. And I noticed when I looked today that Hannah has just done one to kick off Shake-Tember with a sonnet in it. So maybe we should have a few more sonnets knock around BookTube this month in September. But any poetry is a joy, and there's been some real goodies. So that's my sort of BookTube watching recommendation for this month, is look out for Poetry Thursday. Now, that one really unusual thing that happened this month, and that's why I was hesitating, because I was thinking, how am I going to say this? But yeah, it was unusual for me, though not for the world of BookTube, is that I bailed on a book. Yes, Roz bailed on a book. I never bail on books, really, do I? Partly because I choose them with care. But what happened this time was I didn't go last month to my real life book group, and in my absence they chose they made a horrible error in the book they chose. Maybe if I'd been there I could have stopped them. No, I understand why they chose it. It's a book called The Book Club by C.J. Cooper, and of course calling something the book club kind of brings it sort of to the attention of any book group thinking of choosing a book. And then the blurb described it as a gripping psychological thriller. Well, I can tell you, this book was not gripping. There was no psychology of any sort of worth or understanding in it at all. And thrilling it was not. So I read 5 chapters, not that long chapters, and thought, this is tedious. I just can't go on. The thing that actually really tipped the balance for me, like if it had just been tedious, I might have kept going, just because, you know, that's the deal with the book group. You don't like every book, but you always read them. But the thing that made me decide, no, I am actually going to do a bail, is that the villain in the book, it was obvious who was going to be the villain, was like a non-neurotypical person. And it makes me so angry, actually, when people use that, you know, those sorts of someone being non-neurotypical, I guess, as a sort of shorthand for them being some sort of feelingless monster, or having, you know, bizarre ideas, or it just really annoys me. It is actually ableist, and I don't like it, and I didn't want to read it, and I didn't. So there we go. That was not, however, what I would describe as my biggest disappointment this month. That's odd, you say? Have you actually bailed on it? Well, it kind of, because it almost wasn't a disappointment, because the moment I the moment I looked at what they chose, I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be great. You know, it was like, yeah, they hadn't thought about it that carefully, and I wasn't there to sort of hold up a warning finger. My biggest disappointment this month was a book that I was expecting to really, really love, and that was Like Perpetual by Francis Spufford. And I thought that was going to be a real kind of like 5-star book, and it wasn't. And it was still a good book. You know, it wasn't a bad book, but I was so disappointed that I made a whole video about why I was disappointed in that book. So if you want to know more about that one, read that. But don't assume from that you won't like it, because it was I think it was quite a particular reaction on my part, and was why I didn't. So and I know there are other people out there who felt the same as me, and there's other people out there that think it's brilliant. So there you go. It's certainly book along listed for a start. Now, I've got 2 books this month that I can't really talk about, and those are the 2 that I'm going to end up with. One of those is The Death of Vivek, and I can't talk about that because it's a BookTube Prize book. I'm reading for the fiction final for the BookTube Prize, and that's number 4, and I've got 2 to read in September, one of which I've already read because this is the 4th of September, which is a good sign. I won't even say anything about that one. The other book that I can't talk about is something that I reread for a little scheme that Kate Howe has got going ready for Victober. And I'm not going to give anything away because it's her thing, but in order to work out whether I was going to be able to use this book for her thing, I had to reread it, and it was a lovely experience. So I look forward to being able to tell you about that in the thing that Kate's going to do. I'm being overly mysterious there, aren't I? But I think it's going to be fun. So that was my August. How was your August? What was the best thing you read in August, and the most disappointing? Do tell me, and I hope you're going to have a brilliant reading September.